I'm Dan Wingett from Gulf Savannah NRM, based in Mariva. Today we're out here at Abingdon Downs Station, out on the Einasleigh River. We've had a project running with Cunningham Cattle Company for the last couple of years. The main idea was trying to improve native vegetation, woody and non-woody, and try and really restore some ground cover and stuff along these sensitive riparian areas.
Hello, my name's Andrew Thies. I'm the manager of Abingdon Downs. We're 109 k's north of Georgetown, and I work for a company called Cunningham Cattle Company. Yeah, so we picked up the project with Gulf Savannah as a collaborative project where we were fortunate enough to get some funding so we can actually improve some fencing and put some more waterways in, so there's some water points for the cattle.
What Cunningham have done after the involvement with us with Gulf Savannah is what this paddock used to run. We've had a 35,000 hectare paddock that historically ran up to around 4,500 head 12 months of the year. Within this paddock we've mainly got the Einasleigh River as the primary water source, and there was just 4 external water points within a couple of k's of the river. So there was a lot of country that wasn't getting utilised for most of the year, and all the cattle sort of hung along these riverbanks. What we saw was there wasn't a lot of ground cover left at the end of the dry season, so those first season rains came in and virtually washed the topsoil away, which was creating a lot of sedimentation into the Einasleigh and out into the Gulf. They erected over a 31-kilometre fence just north of the Einasleigh here and actually physically kept the cattle out for that wet season. With that 31-kilometre fence, they also added an additional 10 water points, just to alleviate that grazing pressure over about 20,000 hectares. Up in the north as well, they've also split it with a laneway, and we've essentially now got this one paddock is now split into 4, which just brings us back to having more options for improved grazing management.
Once we put the fence in and improved the water points for the whole paddock, it allowed us to give spelling to the river. And in the last 2 years since that's been happening, we've gone from areas that were basically had very, very little grass to wet season spelling to now that we've actually got good body of grass throughout the whole year. Yeah, all this little light stuff here, that's the first sign of when you got overgrazed and that sort of stuff, and that's what it would have been through a lot of this country even a couple of years ago. This area's only been wet season spelled for going on 2 years, so it's completely destocked over the wet season, and the amount of grass that's just come back has been amazing. You've got grass there, you've got roots there, you're going to stop soil erosion, you've got more stuff there to hold onto the soil, better water infiltration, and the long term is going to end up with a lot more grass than we used to have before. More grass means more beef.
By having that body of feed at the end of the dry season now, we're really going to hold together those soils. So for first season rain, especially if we get a big hard wet season come in, we're really going to give that impact of reducing that sediment runoff, that topsoil really running into the Einasleigh and running out into the Gulf. So that was the main aim of the project, is one, reducing sedimentation into the Gulf, but also improving the native vegetation, woody and non-woody. The added bonus to that was the guys out here realised that they've got a few weeds that they're trying to really work on within their weed management plan, and then the extra tick box we've had is they've controlled over 250 hectares of Parkinsonia, especially in a sensitive wetland, which has its own key indicators and hard to get to within the wet season, but once it's dried out, they've been really working on those treatment options to try and get it down.
We've worked up from the top of the lagoon all the way back down here, and we've just started accessing all the Parkinsonia that we've got down along here, trying to sort of reduce the amount of parky that goes down through the river, and also benefit for us in the fact that we don't have thickening throughout the place. We've had a pretty good result with the access and the diesel. Probably takes us about a week a year just to do this sort of section, just to keep on top of it. It's 2 or 3 blokes with a buggy. It's all hand sprayed. We've had a pretty good result, probably got about 65 to 70% success rate. The reason behind that is we always miss a few bits, and there's always a bit more seed comes up every year, so you just got to keep going back and reapplying it. But as you can see, where we've knocked the parky around a fair bit, there's a lot more grass growing through there, so it gives us options for other controls, like we could use fire later on, or we'll get back in here and spray again very shortly. My biggest concern is if we don't do anything about controlling this stuff now, we're going to have just a sea of Parkinsonia that we can't do anything with, and then just create more problems elsewhere. I think a bit of ownership for what we can control. We didn't start the problem, we didn't bring the problem, but we can do a little bit to try and help it out. The long-term plan is we'll be able to spell for wet season for a couple of years, utilise it one wet season, spell other country, rotate our cattle around, and just improve our pasture utilisation. We've actually got a good baseline of grass there to go through, so I think that's been one of the major important things that we've picked up from the project, and I think it's going to be it's going to play a major part in not just this project but a lot of things we do.